Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Magic 40, where we're talking to one of my favorite people, André Hartwich. And his chosen topic today is we're talking about creating a life you love and the importance of doing that for your health and well-being. Hope you enjoy. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about why this is so important for our health and well-being? Why would it be so important for somebody to create a life that they love?
I can only imagine that in the title itself, or this idea of living a life that you love, that it kind of imbues this sense of having a life that by being in love, we all have experienced. I assume most of us we've been in love, either in people or in ideas, or maybe even in life, and it provides us with energy. It provides us with hope, often with enthusiasm, and and in my experience, this is something that we can have. We can all live a life that we are in love with. And the whole notion that I've come across is like, oh wow, for a lot of people, whether we in love with life, yes or no, it's pretty much determined by the circumstances around us. And so when things are going well, it's very easy to be falling in love with life. But then when things don't go well, however that looks like, whatever the circumstances are, it will be different for all of us. Sometimes we fall out of love with life, and often in the same process we can also sometimes fall out of love with ourselves. And when you look at it from a perspective of health and well-being, once we start to get a little bit more um, disenfranchised with life, a little bit more disappointed, um, we often start to turn upon ourselves in the way we think, in the way that we feel. We can maybe get frustrated, disappointed. And there's a lot of research around that actually shows that our thoughts and how we perceive life has a big influence on our health. So when our emotions are kind of heavy and negative and they go on for too long and they cause this internal stress, that has a repercussion on our physiology, on our biochemistry, and it can lead to unease. And if that unease is there for a long time without us working with that and basically shifting and changing that, then there is a chance that unease becomes disease. Whereas, when you are in love with life, when you're in love with someone, then often all the little discomforts, the little aches that we had maybe in our body, we just forget about them. Or when we see other people and we're completely in love with life or with someone, then also the little things that sometimes bug us about people, in those moments, they really don't matter. And they don't create tension within us. They don't create like unease within us. So by living life, approaching life from a perspective like I'm fully in love with it, um, actually our biochemistry is different. The lenses through which we perceive life are different, and the way in which they are different, they make it so much easier for us to focus on the things that really matter to us, and to not get so much bogged down by the imperfections or the so-called imperfections of life, which also means that there's less frustration, there's less stress, and therefore our whole being is less taxed. Like it doesn't get burdened so much. So our body, our emotions, and our mind are in a much more productive state or space, which allows us to navigate life with much more ease, and also to make more of a positive difference to the people around us. Whereas the opposite, when our body is not working pretty well and our emotions are wearing us down and our mind is not really helping us, then it's also more difficult uh, to interact with life around us, which means the people around us and the circumstances around us, in a way that we can actually start to change things for it to become a little bit more like we would want it. And that's so much more difficult when we don't feel well. And it's much easier when we have the energy and the enthusiasm and just this inner radiance, like people are drawn to us.
And how can someone go from a life that they're not feeling so great about, maybe they don't have much energy for, to a life that they truly love? What's the first step?
To be able to create a life you love, be able to create an emotional environment and a mental environment within you that is healthy, that is um, productive, that it really helps you to lead a fulfilled and a joyful life, is the principle of acceptance, that you can accept things for what they are. and show up with life and fully embody your best self to the best capacity that you can, but also be able to let go of the fruits of your action, so to speak. So I've also learned through life that I can invest my time and energy in trying to accomplish or achieve things. And this is kind of like this old saying about, it's not about the destination, it is about the journey. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. If I can be happy to do things for the sake of doing them and find the joy in doing things, and then when they result into an outcome that is desired, that's fantastic. But when it doesn't, it's also this ability to say like, well, okay, what can I learn from this? But not take it as something is wrong with me, or really let my attachment to a certain outcome create despair or frustration or disappointment. So acceptance, I think, is really one of the big keys. It's like our starting point. Can I accept my current life, and can I accept how I feel, how I function? Can I accept what's happening around me without having any resentment? I still have discernment, I still have my intellect and my intelligence that I can say, you know what, certain things in my life, how they show up, whether it's my health, whether it's my relationships, maybe it's my work or my finances, whatever it is, which area of your life is not helpful, we can still discern like, okay, so this needs to change. I need to maybe give more attention, let's say, to my work. So maybe, or to my finances, or maybe I need to invest a little bit more in my family because I'm just noticing that I'm not showing up either fully present, or I'm a little bit too often away, and it's causing a little bit of discontent within them. It just means there are certain areas in life where I need to focus more. But it doesn't mean that that I invite with that a sense of frustration that pulls me down. It's just using my intellect to see like, okay, I can accept what is happening. I see it, but I also know now how can I respond with skillful action. So what I'm hinting at with acceptance is the ability and train ourselves to see things for what they are without making it more complicated with our thoughts about, is this good, is this bad, it should be different. No, it's just being able to be with what is. And it's easier said than done often, but that's where things like, meditation, yoga, mindfulness, journaling, there's so many tools. And you've had guests before that you've interviewed to actually speak to some of these things. So the main thing, I think I've mentioned two things now. One is to open up to the idea that how I feel inside and how I perceive life does not need to be dictated to my external circumstances. And by opening up that question and just reflecting upon it, maybe I discover that actually the way I feel and the way I perceive life is very much dictated by the thoughts that I'm having, like my internal dialogue, and but by what I choose to place my focus on. And I was once on Crete. I was on a holiday, and I brought this book with me, and I think it was a book by Osho, and he had this exercise, and he said, whenever you catch yourself thinking, have a look and see if you're thinking about the past, or if you're thinking about the future, or anything else. And he was kind of like presenting the idea that whenever we think, usually we're either obsessing about the past, or we're doing the same thing and basically inviting the future and past or future. But what we're not doing is simply being present with what is. And so I really did that because I had plenty of time. I was on holiday, not too many distractions. So I was kind of like,
wow, that's so powerful. I think we need to break that down. I'm like, wait a second. That's really amazing. That really needs to be broken down. So basically you're saying if you're not, anytime you have a thought, it's either in the future or in the past, and then you're not being in the present. Sorry, go on. This is amazing.
Well, it's an invitation to observe your thoughts, and you may find out that most of your thoughts, our thoughts, are either about the past, some things already happened, already behind us, or it's about the future. And it's quite interesting to see then also that when I'm reflecting on the past, I'm often telling stories about the past. I'm coming with interpretations, or I'm revisiting like maybe a conversation that I wanted to have, that it would have gone different, and I'm coming with like just different ways of viewing it, and then I'm reliving all those emotions, whether they're good and positive or if they were like less. And the same is with the future, and depending on your makeup, for some people very future oriented, and it can either work for you or against you. For some people, we worry about the future. So when we're thinking about the future, we project anxiety and worry, and for some others, we look with aspirations and hope, and it works very well for us because it drives us to grow, to learn, to evolve. So it's not about good or bad, but it's the invitation of what am I focusing on? And am I focusing on things that are inspiring and then empowering? Am I telling myself stories that put me in a more resourceful, more potent, more confident space? Or the way I talk to myself and the way I think about things is actually pulling me down? And I think just as an exercise to just catch, what am I focusing on? Now I'm in the past, which is not always relevant anymore. And I'm in the future, which has not arrived yet. How much time am I basically placing on, I don't want to call it fantasy, but just ruminations, just thinking, as opposed to being more established in my immediate experience of the now and how I show up now? What's the energy that I bring to this conversation? What's the energy that I'm bringing now to this interview with you here? When when you're with people around, can you be with them? Can you really listen to them without they say something? Then pure by association, it triggers a memory, and then I get caught up to the in thinking about the memory. So with a half ear, I'm listening to the person, but then I'm also having this at the same time this parallel story in my head, and then I'm projecting my memory of something that got triggered onto what the person is saying, and then that might actually stop me from hearing what a person is really trying to convey. So yeah, I think very much creating a life you love is a lot about self-awareness. That's really where it starts. And once I catch myself, what am I thinking about? Then I have an opportunity to do something with that.
So, in your Create a Life You Love course, you speak about having a vision. So, but where can we find the balance between having a vision and staying grounded in the present moment?
It's a beautiful question. And in the question, they say is often already the answer. And you use the word balance. And I think that's a big clue already there, is this idea of, like I said, there's nothing wrong necessarily with thinking about the past or inviting the future. But it's like how, if we view our mind as a tool, an instrument that is there as something that helps us interact with life, then to what degree am I developing my skill to use this instrument to my best capacity, but also to the best capacity of this instrument? So the more I skillfully use my mind, the more my mind develops a certain kind of clarity, the more it uses a certain kind of sharpness. And so when I show interest in this instrument and I learn, like basically I go through the operating manual and I learn like, how does my mind work? Then I discovered that our mind is doing its own thing, and either it has input from me, from us, or it does its own thing. And I think when we reflect and we observe how we live up till now, for most people, we might find like, oh, I pretty much let my mind do its own thing. And just as I go through life and have experiences, it just does its thing. For whatever reason, all the experience I've had in the past, the way I was growing up, the teachers I've had, all the conditioning that I have, the belief systems that I've developed, that has become that has built a momentum. And the mind is perfectly happy to just allow itself to be driven by that momentum. But it's not necessarily a momentum that has been consciously chosen by me, so to speak. So that balance is, in on what direction would I love for my life, would I love my life to take? And that's where I start to marry, like having a vision, a aspiration for how do I want to show up through the day. And it's just a question that I ask, but now I'm deliberately bringing attention on answering, so what if I have a choice how I feel throughout the day? What if I can make a difference to my family? I can make a difference to my peers at work. What if I can invite certain kind of experiences to my life? And we often have that. You know, we want to feel a certain way, want to be joyful, want to be happy. Maybe you want to have certain specific experiences. Maybe you want to go skydiving. Maybe you want to travel to a certain place. How are you going to bring that about? And that's then by having clarity on what do I want from life. And it's a process. Often also when I work with coaching clients, often initially, not everyone, but a lot have aspirations which lie a little bit outside in the world. It has something to do with the career very often, or it's they want to improve something within themselves. And the process, what I've observed, is more often whether people start with something within themselves or outside, at the end of the day, people usually come back to me. Like there's something within me that is standing in my own way of even getting the things outside. And to have a vision for who you want to be is very, very important. And sooner or later in the work that I experience with people I work with, it always comes back to who do I want to be? It's a beautiful question to ask, and also to realize that it can be answered. Actually, I can be whoever I want to be. And maybe it sounds like a big claim, but we have that capacity to develop ourselves. We can develop the way we think, we can develop the way we feel. And then with that, I can develop my skills that make me successful in the outside world. So a vision for what do I want to accomplish, whether it's outside in the world or within me. And then asking the question, who would I need to be? What kind of person do I need to be to actually have that or to function like that? We'll start to give you a vision and some information for what are the qualities maybe within myself that I need to develop. Maybe it's more patience. Maybe it's more courage. Maybe it's like, you know what? I'm spending a lot of time on things I'm realizing now that actually have nothing to do with where I want to end up. I need to spend more time on either developing the skills or just practicing my art, whatever it is. But I need to spend more time doing what I actually really want to do, what I want to see outside in the world. So to have direction in life, we need to know where we want to go. And it's a very long answer to your simple question about the balance between, you know, the vision. The vision gives us direction.
I love that. And it's certainly, and when you, I think that's perfect. And when you spoke to, you know, we can become who who we want to be. I think it could be helpful to share a little bit about when I first met you, Andre. I struggled with even being able to talk on a video call. I struggled with confidence, with being able to speak in front of people. I remember my sister saying, I can't believe it, you're doing interviews. You used to make me ring the doctor's surgery to book you a doctor's appointment. I was terrified. And now that having a vision of confidence and believing that it's possible and making it possible within myself has really, really made these interviews possible, for one, but also made speaking to a lot of people possible, made, you know, really real connection possible in the way that I imagined it was possible. So definitely knowing, you know, having a vision of who you want to be, but also how you want to be while you're doing it is super, super important. Speak to, say, the three most important things that we could adopt or bring about while we're working on this, because we're obviously going to have some limiting beliefs that something is possible beyond what we're seeing now. It's often difficult to believe that a reality could change. Yet I know how powerful this is. I know this really works. So if someone was sitting at home watching the YouTube video and thinks that there's a possibility that something could change, what could they do? Or what's the first thing that you would suggest them to do, or a few things?
one thing which in my experience is very helpful to start with is the realization, and I think it's probably one of the biggest teachings that I've ever received, and also insights by working with it for, you know, for decades, is that the external world reflects back our internal world. So, and you know, and I can speak about this or to this on this principle again for a long time. So maybe for another interview, another call. So my invitation is to perhaps, I mentioned earlier, acceptance is to practice accepting what is, and with that I mean is just be able to see things for what they are, without a sense of a strong judgment about things being good or bad, or pushing them away, or drawing them closer, but to practice being able to accept things for what they are. And like I said, if things are really unhealthy, yeah, you need to change things. You maybe need to take action. I'm not speaking to everything is okay. I'm just saying within you, can you accept things for what they are without becoming reactive? And reactive is often an automatic impulse, something often that we don't have necessarily control over. And at times we can be quite unskillful when we come from a place of being reactive. So this invitation and playing with this idea of acceptance is actually about helping you to be able to respond to life as opposed to react. And the distinction here, that react, the way I define it here, is automatic impulse, not necessarily informed by proper discernment and skillful action, whereas responding is, I have a choice in how I respond to life. So that's step one, is playing with this idea of acceptance. If this brings up questions, then you know they can either reach out to you or to me. But I think acceptance is a big thing. The second is, we train ourselves, we practice a lot. Most of us, we've been raised even to practice to not feel good. Literally, like, you know, in schools where you're competing, you have to have these grades and we get judged and all these things. And just going to the internet nowadays, there's a lot of negativity there, a lot of judgment there. And look at the media. We bombarded with negative messages. We look at advertising. It instills a sense of lack within us, so that we want something to take care of that gap of lack. Mm. And then we take it over. It becomes a little bit our internal thinking world becomes a little bit like that, which is a shame, because we can train ourselves to think in such a way that we actually feel good. And literally, by the way we think, we can change our biochemistry. So the second thing, so the first was acceptance, and placing ourselves in a position where we respond to life as opposed to react to life, people around us, or even ourselves, is to train ourselves to change our biochemistry so we feel more joyful, more happy, more of the time, by design. And if you're okay with it, I quickly share a very simple technique. You know, it's the inner smile meditation. It's something you can do. Start doing it daily. Understand the mechanics, the principles behind it, and then you yourself, you can build on it. But it's just spending a few minutes where you internalize your attention, and you start basically to feel good, and you amplify feeling that good within your body. And I will take you through it. I'm just describing a little bit what we're going to do. And this will actually release, you know, happy hormones within you. And if I start to practice that regularly, once a day, maybe twice a day, not only will it actually really start to physically change me over time, because those hormones, those chemicals, this chemistry, it will change physically on a physiological level with regular practice. It will have a lasting change. But also, oh, if this is possible, what else is possible? What else can I do to build a habit of simply feeling good, no matter what's happening around us? And this is not about denial. This is simply using our brain for a change, which is the title of a book from Richard Bandler. And it's like there's two meanings, like using your brain to create change within you. In other words, using your mind to create change within you. And also, it's like a little bit of pun, like a joke, like, for God's sake, for a change, use your brain. Like, get yourself together and but learn. It's about understanding the operating manual of how we function, how our mind functions. So perhaps if I could invite those of you who are watching right now to just close your eyes and just settle down. Like wherever you're sitting or standing, just close your eyes and just take a moment to feel your body settling and become aware of the surface that you're sitting on or standing on. And just for a moment, just pay attention to any physical sensation you have, whether perhaps it's the contact that your feet, the soles of your feet are making with the floor, or whichever other body part is touching, resting on what is supporting you. Just become aware of that contact. And maybe become aware of the sensation of your clothes on your skin. And now become more and more aware of your breath happening all by itself, without you changing or shaping your breath. Simply observe, notice, or witness the natural rise and fall of your breath. And as you have become a little bit more, as you focus, as you internalize a little bit more, simply by paying attention to your breath, become a little bit more aware of your internal space, so to speak, as if you have a spaciousness inside your body. So really feel your awareness filling more and more up from the spaciousness within you. And then become aware of the general area of inside your head. And then feel, sense, imagine that that your brain is smiling. Just draw in the essence of a smile, as if your brain could smile, and that essence of that smile coming into your brain, and maybe even bring the essence of that smile into your eyes. And perhaps even as this micro lift of both corners of the mouth towards the ears, just to bring the essence of a smile onto your face, and feel the essence of that smile that starting to bring a lightness, a spacious lightness inside your head, behind the eyes, the brain, and maybe you even start to feel an evolving, a building sense of a little bit of background experience of a gentle joy starting to permeate your brain, your eyes with a lightness, maybe even towards the mouth, and then allow this feeling good, this essence of a smile to descend from, like I say, inside your head towards the throat, thyroid glands, smiling, and bring the essence of the smile into your throat, the glands there, and then in towards the chest. Feel both lungs smile. Feel the essence of the smile in your heart, and just feel an explosion of joy and like just feel good sensations building within your chest, and then allow this to expand down into your abdomen, and just continue to amplify this feel of lightness, of spaciousness, of joy, and allow it to come from the chest through your shoulders into the arms, towards your hands, the palms, the fingers, and through your hips, down the legs, towards the feet and the toes. And now, and see and find out, feel if you can begin to move the sensation of joy from the crown of the head all the way down towards the tips of the toes, and from the tips of the toes back up all the way to the crown of the head. And even every time when you move it down, it becomes stronger and brighter. And every time when you move the sensation of feeling up to the crown of your head again, just start to amplify this feeling and just feel more and more joy and brightness and lightness build within your system for just a few more moments. And then finally, just allow your awareness, your attention to rest behind your chest, behind your sternum, inside your chest at the heart. We call it the spiritual energetic heart. And just for the next few seconds, just rest there. and just feel and settle with a sense of gratitude inside your heart, and allow this sense of gratitude and joy to also begin to fill the space just to the outside of your body. So allow your awareness to expand to the space around your body, maybe even allow it to fill the room you're in, fill that room, that space around you with joy, with gratitude. So there's joy and gratitude within, there's joy and gratitude without. And then when you're ready, slowly, with joy and gratitude, allow your eyes to open.
Thank you.
Something, an invitation to play with. Start, give this a chance. Practice it at least once a day, maybe twice a day, and learn that I can actually use my mind, my capacity to feel, maybe my capacity to visualize, or maybe just with pure intention to move positive sensations and feelings and emotions through my system by design. And then start to notice actually how your days will change if maybe you do this in the morning. If you design your day, if you design your morning, make this part of it. So this is a second step that people could do.
Oh, wow. Like, thank you so much, Andre. That's fantastic. And I know you have something for everyone, a special offer for everyone, which is so cool. So do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, for everyone who is watching this video, this recording, because you're doing these Magic 40 interviews, which by the way, congratulations, is amazing. Actually, in the Create the Life You Love, in this online program that I have, one of the things that I speak often about, and is one of my main principles that I work with anyone that I work, is to involve people in any of our projects, in our life, in our projects. And so basically also what I see you do by getting all this knowledge from all these amazing people together and just actually just gift it to the people who watch. So I think that's a tremendous contribution you're making to the people who watch this. And but of course I also love all these principles to reach many more people. So for anyone who's watching, I'm offering quite a significant discount to the Create a Life You Love program. It usually costs $497. And for everyone who's watching this now, for the next 5 days, there's a coupon code which takes $300 off. So you can get the whole 4-week program, Create the Life You Love, which helps you to create a very clear vision for what you want to accomplish, like basically clarify a strong sense of purpose. What is your highest aspiration? And with it, also like, who do you need? It helps you to get very clear, who do I need to be to invite and have that in my life? And then it becomes very practical, because in a program, you learn how to overcome your obstacles, things you are aware of, or maybe sometimes even things we're not aware of. So there's tools, practical tools to help you overcome whatever is holding you back. And then very, very practical strategies and tactics to create a very actionable plan. So one is changing your inside so that you become very aligned with your vision, as if you're already experiencing it now. But then at the same time, we also need to interact with life and build skill doing that. So that's all baked into this program to set you up for success in creating a beautiful life you love. So when we will share with you the link to Create the Life You Love, and then you've got the coupon code MAGIC40, and magic one word, and then the numbers 40. When you enter that, you get the $300 discount. So that will come to you by email. I don't know exactly how we will share this, but that's my gift to you. So it's really within everyone's reach to go through this program, which I put my heart and soul in. And this is how I work with myself. This is how I've worked with my clients, and I've seen so many beautiful things come out of it. So I really wish for everyone that you really learn how much more potent and powerful you are than most of us realize. We can really design a life we love. We can fall in love with life by by taking charge of the things that we can influence, and the only thing we can influence really is what happens within us. So that's an invitation. And Maddie, thank you so much for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my passion with you and with whoever is watching.
Thank you so much, Andre. It's so beautiful to have you. And yes, I feel like there should be more interviews to cover all the that we need to talk about. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And talk soon.
Bye.